I'm always conscious of what's going on, whether people are jumping out of the balcony or getting on stage. Or the worst is those guys, they come out of the crowd, whoever, and they step all over those guys' pedals and everything, and it totally derails the whole train.
Worst gig ever with your host Geoff Garlock on Revolver. Oh,
drums are the best. Blast beats are even better. Dave Witte is better than all of them. Welcome to Worst Gig Ever. This is your host, Geoff Garlock, and this is Revolver's podcast where we talk to musicians about how terrible it is to be in a band, be on tour. And today we've got Dave Witte from every band ever. Municipal Waste, Discordance Axis, Publicist UK, Human Remains, I Abhor Her, Major Burns. Yep, I'm doing a call out to Major Burns. And the list goes on and on. And he was great. He's got amazing stories and answers a lot of real fanboy stuff for me because I have been a big fan since I was a child, a young man. So I hope you keep on listening because you're going to lose out if you don't. And you also lose out if you don't listen to all of our other episodes that we've got in the Revolver back catalog and on worstgigeverpodcast.tumblr.com. Over 100 of them. Catch up. And for now, Dave Witte. Rototoms. Usually we start this with a worst gig that you've got. Anything. Can be anything. Could be shows. Could be now, back in the day. Could be a bad job. Could be any type of worst gig to you when you first hear those words.
Worst gig? It's whenever I hear what's the worst gig, I have to calm my brain and actually think about it and look for something like that because nothing really stands out. And so I had to go back and I came up with a few things. But they're not really worse, though, it's, as in tragic or anything like that. You know what I mean?
It's no one needs to die.
Yeah, like I've fallen off the drum riser and the seat through the hole and all that stuff. I've been hit with every possible thing you could ever think of from the crowd.
Right.
And I actually wear contacts now because when I first joined the band, I'd wore glasses and they were knocked off every night.
I mean,
cones, beer cans, you name it, everything in the face and dodging stuff. Tony's really good at catching stuff before it hits me most of the time.
Which is nice. He's playing defense.
Yeah. Those guys have to put up with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Dude, can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they have to deal with the people getting on stage.
I'm sure.
And wrestling with them and fending them off.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there behind my little fortress.
Right.
And I get to see everything. That's the best part.
Right.
The world's worst stage dives, everything. People jumping out of a balcony. I'm just like, oh my God, that guy's not going to make it.
Right.
It's
At the very least, you've got the stage where it's not like playing on the floor anymore where everyone's trying to attack.
Yeah, that was something else too. I would have to move my drums, like set them back up constantly.
Right.
And then there was this place, Burnt Ramen. You remember that place in Richmond?
Yep.
California.
Is that the one above the was it upstairs, or am I thinking of a different one?
No, it was like in some ghetto in Richmond, California, kind of near Oakland.
Yeah.
And I remember some guy getting on the drum set. It wasn't my drum set. I think it was Annihilation Time's drum set. And like getting on and jumping off, and I'd have to fucking reset the thing up. It would move all over the place. And I think it was the third or fourth time, and I remember he got up there, and it was a guitar break, so I wasn't playing. So I whacked him in the back with my drumstick as hard as I could. I definitely broke skin. There's no way I couldn't have. And he didn't come back.
Perfect.
So it was a victory for me.
Right. I remember I'm stealing a story a bit, but it was my singer used to do of Orchid and Panthers used to do shows in his loft. I don't know if you remember Olneyville Sound System. They were from the Rhode Island world, so it was from the Lightning Bolt, kind of like art world. But either way, the drummer was like this kickboxer, and instead of putting a block on the ground, he had a piece of wood he would nail into the ground. So they were in their loft, and Jay was just he's sitting there, he's I don't know if you want to do that, but he kind of looked at the guy, and he's got covered in tattoos, I'm gonna let you just nail it into my floor, because he was just fuck it, I'm not gonna have this thing move, because that's always the thing is drum sets moving around you're on a little train set, the whole show.
Yeah, I just got a new carpet.
Yeah,
because it's like running away from me. It felt like I was on a magic carpet. Wherever I put it down, it would still go all over the place, and it's the worst.
What do you have defense from them throwing stuff at you now, but like do you have that in the back of your brain while you're playing?
Oh yeah, I see everything.
Yeah.
I'm always conscious of what's going on, whether people are jumping out of the balcony or getting on stage, or the worst is those guys, they come out of the crowd, whoever, and they step all over those guys' pedals and everything, and it totally derails the whole train.
Right.
So I see that coming, but it's hard to really convey a message like, hey, watch out, that guy's coming, while everybody's going for it.
Right.
But I see it all.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're quick to react, and they defuse the bomb.
It was always the hardest when back in punk, because I would get pushed out of the way to get to the singer so they could sing along. But in my mind, I was always like, but if you knock out my pedals and you knock over the drum set,
you're going to stop the show.
It's not happening. Yeah. It's just like a normal A equals B equation at a certain
They don't get it.
No. It was just constantly just like I would feel that moment of just getting pushed backwards while they turned off my pedal. I'm just like, this isn't going to happen, man.
No.
What do you, looking back on back in the day show, I mean, is part of it that it's hard to kind of weed through what are the worst things because you've done so many at this point. I mean, you've been in so many bands.
Yeah.
And had so many shows where they all kind of semi-blur together.
There's so many different experiences because I've played with so many different people
Right.
and so many unique personalities.
Right.
The whole Mel Banana thing was a whole other set of learning experiences.
Right.
Like first time out of the country, 4 Japanese people, 2 German people, and myself, and 10-week tour before the EU, and it was like a crash course and everything. 9/11 happened while we were there.
Insane.
While I was learning songs, so that was a really heavy trip.
Right.
Learned a lot real quick.
Yeah.
What
was it like being over there? And because I know what it was like here.
It was weird. I felt like I had to hide myself and
Right.
not talk, speak English at some points.
Right. Right.
That's what we were told to do.
Right. Oh, who told you?
Like the government was saying it's for U.S. citizens traveling.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you shouldn't really speak English in public or something like that. But it was probably just like fear propaganda and all that crap.
Things,
You know what I mean?
Did you have any struggles getting back?
No, but my friend did. He was detained for a few days.
Oh really?
But when the tour was finished, we were all sitting in the airport, and it was really crappy.
Right.
Because whoever walked in the room, everybody in the waiting room would be like, to see what type of person was. Everyone was freaked out that someone was going to get on the plane and fit the description.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was on everybody's mind, and it was the first time I saw people with machine guns at the airport.
Right.
Walking around.
It's it's great because it's even just that. I mean, that's a different type of worst case, but that feeling of being stuck always stressed me out on tours.
Yeah.
And that is to me is the ultimate one where you just I would assume would have had at least some moment of just
Yeah.
Where am I going to go? I would have enough problems when we didn't really have cell phones and all that stuff, but in another country it would be my panic attack would be coming on strong.
Yep. And these days when we get to a show, especially in Europe, I sit down behind the drums and I kind of make a map.
Right.
Of where I can get out if I need to. It sucks that you got to think about that now, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it is that we had that even at teaching sketch comedy. The other day we had where I was oh right, we should figure out what to do if someone gets a note they don't like or some shit. Someone was and they were just oh, throw the table up. I was already this plan sounds terrible. I think I'm gonna die right away. You mentioned playing in so many different styles. I mean, you mentioned Melpanette, but it's a big thing I think about as old man still playing music, and also just the idea of scenes and that scenes just kind of don't exist. But in my mind, you've been in just I've been in a bunch. I was in the quote unquote screamo scene, and then the Brooklyn rock explosion, all that bullshit. At the time, I'm just okay, I don't know if it's an actual scene. And in my mind, I'm always oh yeah, you've been through powerviolence, like existing as a thing.
Yep.
And to me, like New Jersey as a thing, like, you know, just like there was a certain point in high school, like I would just be like, yeah, like, you know, that certain point where you could just be like, bands from Jersey will probably sound like this. Bands from San Diego sound like this.
Yep.
Which doesn't exist anymore as much as it does. But like at the time, did it feel like that, especially with Jersey? Did it feel like we are in this kind of like...
It was weird. Human Remains was the first thing I did.
Right.
And that was like such a weird trip. Because my favorite quote like that I made up for that is that we had no idea what we were doing before anybody else.
Right.
Because that's pretty much what it was.
Right.
We were taking so many chances and no one got it.
Right.
Years later, people like that now.
Sure.
They didn't, like, we were kind of ahead of the time, but we would always get these mixed towards the end when we started branching out even more. We were constantly on mixed bills.
Right.
A lot of hardcore shows.
Yep.
The Mouthpiece and
Yep.
you know,
Ensign.
yeah, all that stuff. They were our homies.
Yep.
But One King Down was like one of my favorite shows when we played this place. I think it was called the QE2 in Albany.
Yep, I remember
Long
that.
time ago, and somehow we ended up on their record release show, and it was packed.
Sure.
Packed to the point where you had to like push your way through the room to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Like, it was a pain in the ass. It was a process.
Right.
And we played, and that room was full of people, and it was absolute silence in between every song.
Right. Just nothing.
No claps, nothing.
Right.
Like we're so freaked out, like we kind of raced through everything.
Right.
We were like super uncomfortable, and it was our first time playing something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
also, that's also, you just said, like, One King Down in Albany for the record release.
Yeah.
Is like
It was
the
like the-
biggest mosh show I could imagine.
Yeah, it was the ultimate rocket ship over everyone's head.
Right.
And we get done, and to cap it off, my favorite part is I go to the bathroom afterwards, and there's these two guys next to me, and I overhear the one guy go, "Hey, man, what'd you think about that band?" And the other guy goes, "I don't know. I think they were good, but I'm not sure."
Which you basically just also gave when I would
made
always
me laugh.
Yeah, I would make fun of Ebullition, like zine,
Uh-huh.
like when they would review stuff, because every review was that.
Uh-huh.
Was like, I don't know, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
If you like this, you might like it. Which was like, yeah, I guess that's words you put down, but that is like, that guy also basically might as well have said, they're having a lot of fun up there. Like, looks like they're enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were good.
Right. But also, weirdly, that guy was admitting, I might be dumb. Like, I just might not get it. I am kind of at a One King Down record release show.
But we were weirdos, though, because we would go play all the death metal shows, and we'd show up with, like, fucking jams and striped shirts on and shit, and everyone would have, like, all black on, boots, leather jackets, and long
Right.
hair. We all had shaved heads,
Yeah.
except for one guy who had hair down past his knees.
Right.
So, like, you know, we'd walk in, and everybody would be like, look at these clowns.
Right.
And then we would get up there and play, and, you know, they wouldn't say that afterwards.
Well, because that also, like, when I
was
think
kind of
of
funny.
your drumming style, like, one of the reasons you've always been one of my favorite drummers is that, like, it feels like you write drum patterns like they're riffs, which doesn't happen that often. So, there would be parts in, like, Human Remains, Discordance,
That's
I
all-
Abhor Her, that I would, like, look forward to. Like, I still bother my wife. Like, she doesn't know what I'm doing, but, like, Weeding Out the Thorns, wherever that, like, middle part, I kind of just sit there when I'm, like, anxious and do, like, da 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 da. Like, but we're like, I always I think about that a lot with like death metal and like just metal in general. But like, it's so much work that you're putting in for possibly a very limited audience. Like where it, like I listen to Human Remains or I listen to like and Discordance where I just be like, I know the audience that's going to like.
We didn't care
played
about
the
them.
same 30 people shows.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody
yeah,
there.
did you just not give a fuck?
No, we wrote that shit for us.
Right.
If people liked it, cool.
Right.
We didn't care.
Right.
We just wanted to do what we wanted to do and have fun doing it and
Right.
challenge ourselves.
Right.
That's everything I did early in New Jersey. That was what it was all about.
Right.
And we wanted to be faster than anybody.
Yeah.
That was like the big thing. Fucking fast as shit.
Well, it's also
all
good
the
because you
time.
were like the master. You still are the master of like the quiet, fast blasts.
Yeah.
Like those are the parts I would look forward to in Human Remains. So when I first got the record, like they're just like where I'm just like they're kind of just going and then but it's like almost backbeat.
Well, that was the thing. Yeah, we both Human Remains and Discordance Axis later on, we realized that oh yeah, the guitar doesn't have to be going as fast as the drums.
Right.
And if you can build off that,
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's like
listening to discordance where I was like, oh, he's letting a single chord ring out.
It's
and
more
I've
powerful.
Heard it. Like I just heard it as the unit.
Yeah.
Always. It's weirdly almost like my first favorite band was Primus. Like when I first got into music.
Amazing, yeah. I seen them at the Fast
And I just didn't know anything about music when I listened to them in junior high. So like then all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's like a double kick part. Even those little bits where I was like, oh, he's using like a rototom there.
Yeah, Herb was one of the first drummers that wasn't metal that highly influenced me. Besides Neil Peart and Phil Rudd, of course. You know what I mean?
What about
the basics.
Herb kind of
I was like, wow, he's so progressive and awesome. And he's like, at the time I was into Zill bells and, like cup chimes and splashes and all that stuff.
Right.
And he was the total package. He had all that stuff.
Right.
And then it was in the song context, and he played within the song for the song, and it was very musical, and he was taking creative steps that I didn't know could be done. So it was pretty influential.
I mean, it does make, because that's the other part though too, is even when I'm saying like these kind of riff-based drum beats, it didn't,
Blame the
never
guitar
felt
player.
splashy. It never felt like showing off. Like there are definitely like I'll listen to these like tech bands now, and I'm just like, there's not much of a song here.
No, well, that's the thing. You're right about that. It's to this point, it's an ability, display of an ability in almost contest in a way, which is cool. I enjoy seeing it, but I can't listen to it for too long. Like watching it's fun.
Right.
But for me, doing that stuff back then, the people that I played with, like Rob Martin from Discordance Axis, and Steve Procopio, and even with Burnt by the Sun, John Adabata, those guys wrote the riffs that made me think differently to be able to play that type of stuff. So it all comes from the guitar.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I was saying with the New Jersey scene. Like that made such an impact.
You can
on
blame
me.
it, two ways: Sean Kelly for metal, and then Keith Hawkins for hardcore.
Right.
That was the two biggest. Ripping Corpse and Rorschach. Yeah. Everything kind of went both ways from there. For me personally.
Yeah. I mean, because then it was just like, it was always in my mind. It was like, I'm gonna rip off a New Jersey band. Like it would be Rorschach, Human Remains, Discordance in there in my brain still, but Time's Up and Burnt.
Adabata. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Time's Up seven is just great. Like the two. Like.
And then we did the Burnt by the Sun together, John and I.
Yeah, exactly. And like Burnt, and that was a bit like and I love River Black. Like I thought that was that was my favorite record of that year. But again, with a big chunk of it, which is like, oh, like you're thinking about the drums in a completely different way. Like thinking about and like, and still like
it's those guys that give me the ammunition to be able to think that way.
Right. But even with like how was the kind of did you feel like Discordance was in the kind of power violence scene?
Kind of, yeah. Power violence grind, kind of road that straddled the line there. But back to Jersey bands and Discordance, same area. I think what you're talking about and what we did, I'm jumbling this up, but like we're going to get on stage and our goal is to murder all these other bands.
Yeah.
We want to smoke them all.
Right.
That's what the mindset was back then.
I mean, that was in my mind. Whenever I watched, I was like, oh, the Jersey bands are the bands that are going to possibly break something. But combined with some tritone guitar part that is like interesting and odd. But at the same time, in the Dead Guy, I think what's his name? Oh, now I'm blanking on. He was in Human with You, long hair.
Jim
bass. He had a
Baglino.
Who?
Jim Baglino played guitar in Human Remains, bass in Dead Guy, and then he went to do bass in Monster Magnet.
Like him in Dead Guy was insane.
Jim was crazy.
I have many times I saw them, it was insane. I'd be like scared, but then I have one video of just straight up him just smashing someone with the bass body mid song, which was insane.
Yeah.
But that's what I was.
I've known Jim since third grade.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's one of my oldest friends.
I mean,
he lives here now, not far from here.
Does?
He's supposed to come tonight.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was...
Thanks for reminding me. I totally forgot.
It's good to know. I'm just here to serve my part for that. But that was it. I think, that's why there's also... I see that kind of, because at the same time, there's this fucking real funny Dead Guy video of, like the second lineup, but in Philly, and there's like all these guys like trying to fight them because they're not hardcore enough. But I was like, yeah, but it's so interesting. Like it's the most interesting stuff ever.
Yeah.
But that was also the same with powerviolence, where like, I mean, someone like Man's a Bastard was just like so complicated for no one really watching. Like,
I remember watching him at CBGB, and just it was like someone rolled a tank off stage and just crushed everyone. It was so unbelievable the first time there.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
I mean, but like that was like, you know, for me also like that Fiesta comp was such a big comp. So like, this is every band I like.
Yeah, that was fun going out there. We did that with Discordance Axis and with Black Army Jacket as well.
Oh, right, yeah.
Fiesta Comes Alive.
Yeah, so how was the Fiesta Grande shows?
That was the first time Discordance Axis ever went, and the only time I went to the West Coast.
Right.
And we played 3 songs straight right off the bat, and the roar was like nothing we've ever heard before. It was because we were in alien territory for that type of music that we were doing.
Right.
And we were like, holy shit, this rules.
Yeah.
And it just gave us, you know, stoked the flames, and we just whizzed through that set. It was great.
I mean, I'll say even on the record, I would always be like, oh, Discordance might have probably been the best sounding. Like, just because, like, even those songs sounded great. There are other bands, even on that comp, the Fiesta Grande Comes Alive, that I was like, yeah, it sounds like they were a little off that night.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like, oh, Lack of Interest vocals are really loud, but I think they were always really loud. Just on My Life.
We were easy. We were only 3 people, so there wasn't much to mix.
Right. Which is such a, I mean, that's the other part. Like, I mean, do you have any worst get related to just like sound dudes just like fucking you over at all?
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Your biggest thing is usually a language barrier. If you're in a different country, you're like, try more and more, and then they shut it off, or they give you, like, you ask for snare drum and they give you bass guitar. You know.
Yeah.
It's always a constant challenge.
Sure.
And I've learned to not lose my cool, because it's just the way it's got to be. I just got to readjust and go by muscle mechanical memory and just power through it.
I just always have.
But it's common now.
Yeah, I think that's you know, you would get used to certain places. Like, I was always amazed, especially in Panthers, because I was like, we're not that loud. How many times we would have sound guys just like acting like, what is going on here, man? Just like, how can you be so loud? And I was like, it's really not. You do this for a living.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand unless you play this game with every band.
Yeah, Switzerland, we had a really hard time with Melt Banana.
Uh-huh.
Because there's the dB limit there, like 98
really?
or something like that. And Melt Banana was so loud.
Right.
So loud. I have ear damage from that.
Right.
I'm convinced. And I remember Agata really getting into it with the sound guy. Like, we had to turn down. He was like, I feel like we were in practice room. Because, like, you know, the PA was barely on. He was so pissed.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, because I would always imagine, too, for drummers, it must be like, one of my, you played the Palladium, I think?
Yeah,
Worcester?
a few times,
The fucking Palladium is one of my, I used to go to a lot of shows there, and I was always just be like, what are you doing with the kick drum here?
Oh, yeah.
Like, out front, it was the loudest thing that would ever exist.
Boom,
And, like,
boom.
especially, like, yeah, Metal Fest would always just be, like, halfway through every band's set. You'd be like, I guess that's a sound I can deal with.
Yeah.
And that's, like, just the kind of the, you know, one of the problems of being the opening band, or, you know, being on one of those multi-bands.
Yeah, you're the experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
The guinea pig.
Did it feel great when you finally had like someone coming with you to just like at
Oh,
least
it's amazing.
Tone it in?
Yeah, it's really cool because you develop a good relationship with that person, and the connection's there, and they know what you want, and vice versa. So it makes you real comfortable and not sweat as much.
Right.
But there's still going to be a problem no matter what.
Right.
You know.
Because it's always going to be foreign equipment too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like why
That was
would
like-
you set this up this way?
I used to freak myself out over that. I was like, oh my God, I can't play this because I don't have this many toms or cymbals and stuff like that.
Right.
Used to drive me insane. And then one point I was just like, fuck it, I'll just change the drum fill for that part. The song's still going to be the same. Why didn't I think of this years ago?
Right. Did you have a point where you shifted where you're like, maybe I can do the house kit?
Yeah, I got over that, and I learned, I was like, I got it in mind. I was like, I can use anything and make anything work.
Yeah.
And I did.
Right.
I can still use anything and make anything work.
Right.
And one time, first time we went to South America, though, I was like, yeah, I'm not bringing anything. I'm fuck it. Because I was so sketched out of
Sure.
stuff getting stolen.
Yeah.
And then in one show in Brazil, it was like one hi-hat cymbal, a floor tom with 2 legs, and one cymbal, a tom, a snare, and a kick.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, man, this is a real challenge.
The most bare bones fucked up set
Yeah.
ever.
It worked though.
And then you
No one
pulled it
cared.
off.
Yeah, it was like the weirdest place too. It was like in a kitchen somewhere, something like that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the other part. Then you're just like working against so many negatives in that case. Like, do you have those times too where you're just like, fuck it, like tonight's the night, it might just not sound great.
Yeah, I've disconnected monitors before.
Yeah.
Like,
Just-
fuck it, I don't need it. I'm gonna do better without it. It's
Right.
only making me play worse and have a terrible experience.
Yeah.
So I just shut it off, and usually the sound man comes over and gets heated about it, and he's trying to communicate with me, and I'm just like trying to tell him, leave me alone, I'm good.
Right.
I'm just going to continue this way.
Yeah, I've
No
made a
hard
choice.
feelings.
Right.
You know, let's just leave me alone. I'm going to keep doing this the way it is.
I mean, I think monitors always. I've never got used to them, and
Yeah.
it is always a shock to the sound guy. Where it's just like, you don't want anything, and then also my singer would get upset because I'm like, I don't need any vocals, but I was like, I'm gonna get enough bleed, and like I always prefer just hearing.
I never have
the
vocals
amp.
ever.
I mean, they're just.
It just throws me off.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, because I don't know. Like I know for us, like we almost never practice with them anyways. So I'm like,
Well, the
I think
singer-
I might know the songs.
Yeah, well, half the
without
time they're
vocals.
never going to sing all the words,
Right.
and then, like, or they're going to do it a different way, and you like when you hear these foreign sounds
Right.
coming at you when you got everything memorized and dialed in, it's
Right.
a distraction.
Or God forbid they let someone in the audience sing. And
Oh,
they're like,
yeah.
oh, you don't know the words.
Yeah, and they're way louder than them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just, like, this was my chance.
Yeah.
Like, they think it's like the movie Rockstar. They're going to get up there and become the new singer of Municipal Waste. Going back to, like, this is, like, something I always have associated with you, too, but thinking about kind of ridiculous drumming, but also especially in these kind of smaller type bands. I don't know if you remember a Metal Maniacs interview or an article that you were in once.
Long
And it was-
time ago when Mike Williams did the magazine.
I think it was, and I like have it still. I want to find and see if he was editing at that time. But it was about extreme drummers, like, and it was like I think, but they talked to like you, like maybe Mikey D, and like the biggest thing that stuck out because it was at the time I was like a little bit younger. I think you were just like, it was either you or someone else was saying the drummer from 311 was really great, and then the
Gene
drummer from-
Hoglan.
And Gene Hoglan was, but yes, and Gene Hoglan was.
Gene Hoglan was saying
And
that
the
the
dude from Dave Matthews
dude 311 was a groove monster.
Yes.
That's the exact quote.
That's exactly. I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like anytime 311 comes up in conversation, I'll be like, I've got this article where
Yeah,
everyone's
Gene
talking
Hoglan
about
says it.
Gene Hoglan thinks he's a fucking great
Yeah,
drummer.
because I remember that. Right there with you.
Right. I mean, but was it you that called out the Dave Matthews guy?
Carter Beauford's a genius.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
but
goddamn.
that was the energy of the article, which I loved. Though everyone had that moment. Like almost there was like a pull of Gene's, yours, where it was just like,
What?
oh, but this guy's a fucking come on.
See, that's the thing. If you love music, you're going to recognize what's great
Right.
to you.
Right.
I like everything.
Sure.
I find merit in everything.
Right.
If there's like one part, if there's one part that gets me stoked on a band, I'm going to like that part. I'm not going to hate on it.
Right.
I just want to absorb as much shit as I can. And
I'm so happy you remember that Gene Paul because it's the 311 one that stuck out the Dave
Yeah,
Matthews
it's a
one. I was
groove
just like, yeah, I
monster.
get it, but he's a fucking groove monster. Because my biggest problem is also like I have a lot of issues with 311, but also that snare drum is just like a fucking ice pick in my face.
Yeah,
anytime it's just like bam, boom, 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 boom. Like it's the most.
it's pretty high.
Oh my god! It's just like
I
I,
li-
remember getting an argument because I was like fucking piccolos and like it's not a piccolo, but it's tuned. And I was like, it's still annoying.
It's probably a 12 or a 13 or something like that.
It's just, I mean, because that was a big thing in Connecticut. There would be these like mosh bands that would get the piccolo.
I had one for Human
sure
Remains.
Human
Remains, we had
was it?
one.
Which band used it?
Human Remains and Discordance
Perfect.
Axis.
I mean, Human Remains totally makes
I
sense.
I recorded the Inaudible Dreamless with a piccolo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a Mapex Bird's Eye Maple 13 by 3.5.
Uh-huh. Fucking, I mean, that combined with the Rototoms is just like...
That was for Human Remains, yeah.
I know. And I loved it, though. I loved it. Like, I was
Turn it
like,
up.
But now in my brain, too, I'm like, oh, that's Herb. Like, in my mind. Because
Yep.
that's what I would always picture with
Octobans.
Primus. Right.
I heard Herb using Octobans. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Try this.
I mean, we would have these like terrible mosh bands that like had like no riffs, but the drummer would have a crazy piccolo. It's like this band One for One, like was just like
way louder than the band.
Huh?
Way louder than anybody.
Oh
in the
my
band.
god! It was like that kick drum I was talking about. It would be like dun 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 dun, like boom, boom, like every single time, and I was like, I'm losing it. Whether it was a VFW hall or the fucking like the tune-in.
And then they mic it.
Yeah. It's like, can we get more?
Yeah.
Can we get more pick in here? Mentioning all these bands, did you ever have a band that... Did you ever have a band of the many bands you're in that you're like, oh, I thought we would do more with this? Or I thought this would go anywhere? Or was it always just the experience of that?
The one of the records I did recently, Publicist UK.
I love that record.
I do too.
I mean, I love Zach. He was on our record. And
love that guy. He's amazing. And Dave Witte, the main songwriter,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Writes great music.
Zach's vocals are great on that record.
It's amazing. That's why I joined the band.
Yeah.
Because Brett, who plays in River Black, was down at my house and we're working on stuff, and he was playing me the demos that him and Dave were working on, Obuchowski. Right. And I was like, that's really cool. Hey, you guys, need a drummer?
Right.
And then like 2 minutes later, I was in the band.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, man, I love that record. I think it's great. I think the drum production could have been a little less extreme. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think the songs are great, and I love it. And I think it was just we were dealt a bad hand, and what the direction it was pushed.
Right. Do you think that's what it was like? The biggest thing was it just like they're trying to get it to? Was it trying to go to metal?
Probably. I mean, and then it was given to someone, and there was problems with it, and I'm not really a namer.
Right. Sure.
You know what I mean?
As you should have been.
Yeah.
I am a lot of times, but whatever.
There's some things that didn't really work out the way it should have, and I thought we, it got shortchanged because I think it's a really good record. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah. That's the one that one, and for me, like, I really loved the Borer 7-inch.
Yeah, that's
Like,
going to
that
come
one
out all
stuck
4
out.
songs.
Oh, it is?
It's going to re-release. Hyperrealist has been trying to do it for the last few years, but Pat always has so many things going on. Keeps getting delayed.
Right.
And then we had new cover art and all that jazz, remastered by Jim Plotkin.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
I'm very psyched for that. I love that Borer 7-inch.
Me too. We practiced like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
We had it in our heads that we were going to play Maryland Death Fest, and then nothing happened.
Was that a band you thought would go, like, do something more with it, or did it do the life that it would have done?
Now, like a lot of the stuff we did early on in our early 20s, no one, like, we thought we knew what we wanted to do, but we didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Human Remains, when we split up, I remember Jacobson calling me the next day, Relapse guy. He was like, hey, I got you guys on main support for Napalm Death Harmony Corruption. You guys want to do it? And I was like, nope, we broke up. I was like, duh, dumbass. We would have totally, thinking back, we should have totally did it.
I mean, but isn't that...
Because that would have been the audience that we were waiting for the whole time.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you basically, like...
When they were huge.
Most of my memories are like, why didn't we do that?
Yeah.
That was a bad move. Like, little thing. Like, I still am like, was it a joke or not? But I remember once getting an email like to Orchid that was like, oh, Earache, like, wanted to talk to... And then, like, I think, like, Will and Edward was like, nah.
I did a record with Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that thing. Came out great.
Yeah.
I was really happy with that.
I mean, Will's the best.
Yeah.
Like, and he's also a riff machine. He's great to be in a band because he literally would be like, here's your whole record.
That's quick. Yeah, I banged that whole thing out in 2 days.
Yeah. That's what we did, a Ritual Mess record, which was 3/4 of Orchids and then 2 other dudes. And it literally was, I went up for the weekend. We wrote the whole album in 2 days, and I came and did bass in half of a day.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And I was like, maybe this is how all bands should be.
Yeah,
I didn't even see our singer.
I did my homework.
Yeah.
He gave me the songs, and I learned them. And
I mean,
came and just
he's
whizzed
so
through
good
them.
like that, too. He's nice that he's got a studio, and he can just kind of give it off. But yeah, there's just so many times that I look back of just like, ugh, why didn't we do that tour or this tour? And then it is, even the way you're just like, oh, we were waiting for this tour, and then we did it, and then didn't do anything after.
Yeah, there was a lot of waiting with some things. Like, yeah, let's wait, and we're going to get this, and they would never come around blow this really cool opportunity for it.
But that came up when I was getting interviewed on this other guy's podcast recently, because like it was like these 2 guys who were like comedians but didn't really know much about music stuff, and there was a lot of just like, what were you thinking? Like I was telling them about my life being in bands, especially. And it's like, were you not thinking of this as like a career ever? And I was just like, I don't know, I just did it. But I think that's a big chunk of
that was
them.
the same thing with me too.
Yeah,
this is what I love to do, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
I don't care about that other stuff.
Right.
But when you get older, you realize
That's
you got to have that shit in
when I hit
consideration.
40 and I was like, oh, I'm married and I have a child. Like, I was like, oh, I maybe should have thought through that for both comedy and music.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, still like mid-30s. Like, I didn't even question that. I was just like, no, what do you mean? Like, you just go and do some temp work now and then because I need to pay for the in-between.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'll play some shit party, like, to fill in the gaps for these 2 weeks in, like, Eureka, California, or whatever it is. But because that's also, like, it's so up in the air what will happen with the bands anyways. Like, it's totally out of your hands. Like, something like Publicist, UK, where it's just like, what a great record. But, like, it's kind of out of your hand to some extent. You're just like, well, next deal.
And another thing is, everyone involved with that band had other things pre-existing that are pretty busy.
Yeah.
Revocation, Waste, and all the other crap
As
that I do.
you get older, too, that just becomes, like,
you're
a
like,
bigger problem.
Sorry. Yeah, you really got to weigh stuff out.
Yeah. Well, because you also, like, everyone's so busy, and you do have, like, do you have moments with Waste or with any band where you're just like, I've done that one, or I did that tour, or like you have those like kind of like, ugh, I don't feel like going out again, like for this week.
Not really.
That's good.
I really love going out and playing music and touring.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's in my blood. That's what I'm here to do.
Right.
And I love every minute and second of it. I mean, sure, there's struggles here and there, and there's stuff that you've done before, but for the most part, man, I consider myself pretty goddamn lucky that I'm still able to do it.
Right.
I
mean, I think this
very fortunate.
Right. I agree. I mean, I think this might speak to like, I'm guessing no, but I think sometimes the death of like playing music can be this feeling that you're owed something. Like, did you ever have that feeling at any point with like bands, or were you just were able to find the way to kind of keep trucking? It's like for me again, it was like I do realize now in retrospect after like years of therapy where I was like, nah, I was in these bands. This tour should be better. There's a lot of shoulds.
Nah.
This should be better, but like you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah, I don't have that.
That's great.
It's like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this instead. I got some other stuff. If this doesn't, I don't know. I have so many. I like so much music, and I want to play so much music. I always have. That's why I play in so many bands.
Yeah.
I play with different. For the most part, I don't think I've done anything that really sounds the same.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because I love to music, and I have so much in me to get out, and I can't all do it in one band, so I got to do it with something else.
Right. Which again, it's the amazing part, and I do think speaks to what I was saying. If you thinking about drums, to me, in a different way and kind of riff-wise, because like I can hear, as I'm sure most, but like I can hear the difference between your drumming in, not even saying like between a Discordance or Waste, but something like here's Human Remains. This is how you sound in Discordance. This is how you sound in I Abhor Her.
You got to approach it differently.
Yeah.
It's like I have this library of ideas that I take from different music and influence and stuff.
Right.
I listened to a lot of hip hop at one point, and I would be taking fills from hip hop and put them into thrash and death metal.
Right.
Just like cross-categorizing where it doesn't make any sense at all, but it works.
Yeah.
And then, I'll do some shit with Publicist. When we did that record, I had a whole other approach. Mm-hmm. And you'll find things that you can cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, I can actually do this drum fill here in this slow part, and it'll work great in this fast part in another band at one point for fun.
Right.
It's really fun it's like a puzzle.
Yeah. Are you good at being like, I want to write this specific style, I'm going to write in this style? Or, because I'm saying for, like, going back to Will. Yeah. I think Will is amazing, and one of the things he's amazing at is he can be like, I'm going to write a J Retard style record. Yeah. And he will write, and you'll be like, you did it. Exactly. Versus, I feel like whenever I try to write songs, it always is like, I'm going to try to do this. I morphed it somehow. It just became something else. Like, in my brain, I'm always like, I would love to be in a band that sounds exactly like Genesis. But... Yeah,
I couldn't do that either.
I can't pull it that, and, that's like a drastic version of it, but...
I needed a platform I need something to work with, and then I mutate it and shape it.
Right.
Help, though, because it's not all me. It's the other side is the huge part of it.
Right. Is there any genre that you're like, oh, I would like to try that?
I want to do a powerviolence record where I sing.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me I sound like Joe from Infest or No for an Answer.
I was just about to ask what type of vocals would you pull?
Yeah.
Like that's what, I mean, I was like, are you going to do Lack of Interest stuff?
Armand, I've sick of all, talked about doing the split record where he would drum and I would sing on one side and vice versa.
Uh-huh.
Who knows? And maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But
Right.
We toured with them not this past summer, the one before.
Right.
The Warped Tour. And
Yep.
God, I had no idea we had so much in common. What a great guy.
I think that is the nicest when you, like, again, when it would, like, I mean, that's also, to me, is the, like, that kind of shared language. And, like, the shared language of especially, like, punk hardcore and, like, metal and various subgenres. Like, when you meet the person, especially when you're just like, I don't think they're anything. Like, they're just, like, some dudes.
Yeah, they're normal.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, wait a second, we can talk.
Yeah.
It's like, you know Chinese, too.
You get
like,
past that hump.
Right.
I was like that with Danny for years, Danny Lilker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember getting a phone call when I still lived with my parents when I was a kid. David, there's a Danny Lilker on the phone for you? And I was like, oh, shit. What?
Right.
Hey, man, you know, I wonder if you had some time. You know, before they got rich, he called me to see if I would drum on the record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Human Remains had just got signed to Relapse. And it was like, I want to do Human Remains. So I was like, yeah, I can't do it. Need to control. I got my own band. This is what I want to do.
Right.
But he called me to play on Need for Control.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think you would have done great on that record.
It would have been
But
fun.
I'm glad you stuck with Human Remains.
Yeah.
Was that right before you were going to record Using Sickness?
Yeah, we're working on it. It was just we got the contract and all
Right.
that stuff. And Dan's always been super influential. And my first stage dive was to Nuclear Assault at the Club Benet in 1986 for the Game Over record.
Right.
So I always like kind of looked up to Dan, even though he's tall as shit.
Sure.
I've looked up to him many different ways.
I was not planning to ask, but this is the stupidest, nerdiest question. But on the Human Remains record, the Beyond Human Perception.
Oh, that was us fucking with everybody.
Was it
It's
nothing?
a dog whistle.
Oh.
That's it.
I can't, I
See,
have
Beyond
hearing
Human
aids now.
Perception.
And like, because like in like late 30s, I got like this genetic thing.
Right.
But now I'm also like, oh, could I not hear certain, like when that fucking Yanni whatever thing happened. Remember what the fuck? It was a thing. It was like that dress. It was, I can't remember. It was an audio thing where it was like some people were hearing Yanni, some people were hearing a completely different word. Yeah. And I was going crazy because I could only hear Yanni.
Right.
But I realized it's because I legitimately can't hear fucking
Yeah, we
certain tones.
did that to be funny.
Right. I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, that was
Even when
the
I was
point.
16, 15, I sat there and I was just like, what the fuck is it? And I was like, I think they're just fucking with it.
Yep.
But I'd have other friends who'd be like, no, man, if you turn it up. It was like this sub-level
Thanks, you just
thing,
made my
like-
day.
Yeah.
It worked years later. Amazing.
It was such like I was like, you're lying to me. I would sit there like manipulate the bass and the fucking treble, and I was like, maybe I just can't hear
Yo,
that fucking
Beyond
register.
Human Perception. We were the worst, like, wise asses back then. Like, everything was solely for our entertainment.
Right. I mean, but that's also.
That's why we wrote crazy ass music. We didn't give a shit whether
Right.
you liked it or not.
I mean, I do think like it's sometimes like. It's remembering that even as you get old and keep playing.
Great
That's what
question.
it's fucking about. Like
Uh-huh.
that it's like, it really is almost remembering of those moments when you're like, I really am just doing this for me. Even if it means putting a fucking dog whistle that's fucking with people. Because that ends up being the best stuff. Like when you're not kind of like doing the math on like, this is the thing that will work.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just like finally just like, nah, remember when this was fun?
It was quite confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And just now it made me think of one of my favorite tour traveling memories. Is you ever hear of Ryanair?
No.
It's really, really inexpensive, cheap ass
Oh, is it?
airplane.
Is it Ireland's one?
Yeah.
Yep.
And at one point they were trying to charge you 50 cents to use the bathroom.
Perfect.
You're on the plane. It was
I remember that.
totally
shit.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we took Ryanair from Italy to Spain years ago, and we're on the tarmac, and there's 2 flights of stairs going up, and we get on the plane, and I'm like looking for my ticket, like where's my seat? And I go, to the lady, I was like, hey, I need some help. I can't find my seat number, and she goes, oh, sit wherever you want. And I was like, really? All right, cool. It was like a free for all.
Right.
You just get on the plane. There's people going nuts, putting stuff away, screaming kids, this, that, the other thing. And I'm sitting down, and then over the PA, you hear from the captain, we're about to take off. Feel free to have a seat. And we're like rolling.
Feel free
Down-
to have a seat.
Yeah, rolling down the
Yeah, the
the
tarmac.
airstrip.
Yeah.
And people are still standing, putting stuff away, like still walking around. And I died laughing. I laughed so hard out loud because it was so ridiculous. And people looked at me like I was weird.
Right.
I'll
Did they
never
even
forget that
bother with the
experience.
flight attendant speech?
No.
Perfect. You all know how a seatbelt works.
It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, holy shit, we're actually rolling and people are still standing, putting stuff away, like holding kids. I said, feel free, have a seat.
I mean, also kinds of show you that probably a lot of those rules are bullshit anyways. But
Yeah. It was weird, man. It was funny. So I'll never ever forget that.
I swear someone told me recently that they were on a Southwest flight where they just had a bench. Like that it was just like
Yeah.
a seatbelt that went across like 4 people.
Dude, that's
And it was
brutal.
like, get out of here. Like, I swear, man, it was super cheap seats.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
I mean, in all this amazing terribleness, but also amazing great stories for me at the very least about.
Thanks. I had a great time.
Yeah. I just have to ask. This is a very quick question. I swore to my best friend he wanted me to ask you, what is your favorite craft beer?
Oh,
Picked one.
that's really hard. If I'd go with the beer that changed my life.
What is that?
Didola. It's a Belgian brewery, the smallest first independent craft brewer in 1980. It makes a beer called Still Knocked,
Okay.
and they release it once a year. It's a Belgian Golden Strong. It's beautiful. Changed my life. When I went to record the Eggs to 13 stuff with Bill down at his house, I didn't drink. And he was like, do you want some beer? I was like, nah, I don't drink. And, I didn't really, I had tried it.
Sure.
But I wasn't like a drinker
Yeah.
or anything. He's like, oh, but you have to try some of this stuff. Because Bill talked like that. He was
Yeah.
like so grandiose about everything. He opened up the refrigerator. I'll never forget it. It was like opening up the Ark. Like, like all these beautiful, vivid, colored, labels and shit that I've never even seen before.
Right.
He's like, well, you got to try this. You might like it. And I drank it, and I go, holy shit, this is beer? This is amazing. Sign me up. I'm in. And
Right.
I've been nuts about beer ever since.
Oh, man.
That's the beer that turned me.
That feels like, as a 40-year-old still non-drinker straight edge, that scares me.
It was
but also,
great.
maybe one day I'll just be like, oh, what have I been doing all this time?
There's a beer
Sorry,
for every.
wife.
There's a beer for every occasion.
Right. That's what my best friend tells me. That's why he wanted me to ask that question.
That one?
So this was awesome, but we always end it with one final question. What do you think of the word gig?
Gig?
Yeah.
You got to go play one tonight.
That's the perfect answer. It's exactly what it is. Thank you so much, man. This was
Thank
great.
you. I had a great time.